Hello, this is Ed Chapman, and this video cast is going to focus on how plants respond to environmental signals. And we're going to focus on primarily a plant's response to light. Okay, now it's important to remember that plants are stationary organisms. Okay, their lifestyle is non-moving, so they're stuck where they grow, and because of this, their responses to environmental signals are critically important. If you remember, animals generally respond to signals by moving, okay, and they can, get out of the way of danger, so to speak. But plants don't have this option. Plants generally are going to respond by adjusting how they grow or how they develop. Okay, so it's a basic biological difference here in response. Many of you have probably seen a very common plant response here with potatoes. If you put a potato in a paper bag or in your refrigerator and let it just sit, if it's in the dark, it'll sprout. And sprouting potatoes, as you probably already know, because this is something I know I've seen, is the eyes on the potatoes, which are actually little buds, will start to grow. But if the potato's in the dark, these growing buds will produce these really thick white stems. All right? So if there's no light signal, you get this type of response. But if you put a potato that is sprouting like this and you move it to somewhere where there is light, okay, you give them a light signal, these stems will have buds, will then develop into green leaves, so you'll get development of chloroplasts filled with chlorophyll and development of leaves. And of course we get development of roots also. So you can see the difference here between no light signal and a light signal. All right, shoots stay thick and white versus leaves with chlorophyll and roots developing over here. All right, so that's just a very easy to see, very easy to test response to a very simple signal, light. Okay, now, long time ago, back in the 1800s, Darwin, actually this is Charles Darwin and his grandfather, did an early experiment with grass seedlings and a plant response called phototropism. All right, phototropism is the response plants have of growing towards light. All right, and Darwin and his grandfather experimented on germinating wheat seedlings, I believe. And what they did is they took a wheat seedling, they let it grow, and then they cut the tip off. And if you cut the tip off of the wheat seedling and shine light on it, it will just continue to grow straight up. All right. If you have another seedling and you grow it in the presence of light, but you cover the tip with an opaque cap, it continues to grow straight up. Okay, but if you cover the tip of the seedling with a transparent cap, it will then exhibit phototropism and grow towards the light source. All right, and if you cover, conversely, if you leave the tip uncovered but cover the shoot lower down, it will also grow towards the light source or have positive phototropism. So we could just record some data real quick here. So this one is negative, this one's positive, and this one's positive, okay, for phototropism. So no tip, okay, no phototropism. Exposed tip, okay, tip getting light, with a transparent cap, positive, and this would be like a control for that, where the tip is covered but it can't get light. And then here, we're covering something other than the tip. All right, so I'm hoping you see the results of this pretty clearly. What causes phototropism? It obviously has to do with the tip being exposed to light. So we can make some conclusions from this. The tip of this seedling is actually where the light sensing is taking place. All right, rapidly dividing plant cells in the tip produce a hormone called auxin. Now, Darwin did not discover auxins. All right, these were discovered many years later with other experimenters working with this model. Okay, but the tip of this plant cell must be making a hormone, and this hormone has been named auxin by later researchers. And this hormone must be traveling down the stem and causing differential growth in the stem to make the stem bend. Because remember, plant cells can't move; they can only grow away or towards something. Okay, so these auxins must be stimulating cell elongation, or the elongation of cells that have recently divided. And from what we can see here with phototropism, the auxin must be stimulating elongation of cells that are in the dark, that are not exposed to light. Because if the cells that were exposed to light actually elongated, if cells on this side over here elongated, it would bend this way. So can you see how positive phototropism means that the light the cells that are not getting as much light must be elongating more to cause the tip to bend towards the light. All right, so that's a pretty easy to see plant response to an external stimulus. Excuse me. Now another part of another role that light plays in the life of plants is the length of days. Okay, and this is a very important signal, and it gets its own name. It's called photoperiodism. All right. Plants are photoperiodic, which means they're going to be changing their development according to the season. And the reasons for this are pretty obvious. Plants need to bloom at the right time of year and produce their seeds and their fruits at the proper times of the year. And this is controlled by the length of the day. All right. So photoperiodism is linked to changes or seasonal changes in the length of day. And plants can be one of three different types. They can be short day plants, long day plants, or day neutral plants. All right. A short day plant is going to flower when days get short. A long day plant is going to flower when days get long. And a day neutral plant is going to flower all the time and not really be responding at all to the day length signal. Okay. Now, short day plants, if you look at this diagram, all right, this diagram over here on the left is showing short days. All right, and we're color coding in a 24-hour cycle. The yellow part of this rectangle represents the length of the day, and the dark gray part of the rectangle represents the length of the night. And for a short day plant that is non-flowering, what's happening is this short day plant is experiencing a long day here. Okay, so this long day is preventing it from flowering. And when the day length gets short enough, beyond this critical when the day gets shorter than this critical length right here, then the plant produces flowers. And what's interesting, at least to me, is what's actually going on with the plant is the length of the night. Okay, so short day plants actually flower when they experience a night that is longer than a critical minimum length. Okay, so it's the length of the night that's critical. And how we know that is because if you interrupt this long night with a flash of light, you then basically make the plant respond like it's having two short nights and one really short day. All right. So what's going on here is we no longer have an unbroken, continuous, long period of darkness, and so the plant will then no longer flower. Okay. Now let's look at what happens when we go to a long day plant. They're just the opposite. Long day plants are flowering when their day length exceeds a certain minimum. Or, more importantly, when their night length, they cease to flower, they no longer will produce flowers when the night length is long enough. Okay? So a long day plant is actually responding and flowering to a short night. Okay? And if you make the night short by putting a flash of light in the middle of this otherwise long night period, then you can induce flowering again. Okay, so long day plants flower when they experience a night that is shorter than a critical maximum length. And a flash of light that divides this long night into two shorter periods will stimulate flowering. So I hope you see the difference there. Day neutral plants, I don't have a picture of these, but these are plants that flower when they just are old enough to flower. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. Many weed seeds are day neutral. Thanks for listening. That is the end of the videocast.